Hey, y'all. Welcome to season 2 of the Reckless Optimist podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. This is a show about hope, strength, perseverance, and resilience. Let's get into it. Hey, everyone. Today on the podcast, we have Ashley. Ashley is a super sweet soul. She tells her story tonight, and it is a wild ride. She has so many twists and turns. During the story, I'm like, how in the world did she ever get out of all of these messes? But her story is absolutely beautiful, and the work that she's doing now is incredible. I know you guys are going to love this story. Let's get into it. Hey, everyone. Help me welcome Ashley to the podcast. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about this.
Yes. So we have to tell everyone how me and you know each other because we are both from the same small town in Northeast Georgia.
Very small town.
Rayco, Gunner Stockton territory. Yeah. So we had a mutual friend reconnect us. Our good friend Mark connected us recently. He is an amazing guy up in Rabun County, and he's a journalist. And I just found out he did a whole journal entry on you in the Laurel magazine, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
he's
he
awesome.
did.
So he messaged me and he was like, you have to have this girl on your show. She'd be awesome. She's got quite a story. So here we are.
Yes, here we are. I'm so excited to share.
And you were telling me you still live in Rabun. Is that right?
I do, yes.
I would love to move back. It is the most beautiful place in the world. I've been all over the world and I still stand by Rabun County is my number one most.
It's the best.
Well, there's so many pockets to it, right? You have the lake, you have Sky Valley, you have the river. Multiple lakes. Yes, that is true. Yeah. And it's owned by the National Forest Service, so they can't really develop a lot of it. So it stays that way, you know?
I love that. I don't want it any bigger. I did say it.
I know. Just keep it like it is.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to start your episode out with a quote. And the quote for your episode, you actually posted on your feed, and it stopped me. I was on my honeymoon last week, and you had posted this quote, and I literally stopped in my tracks, and I was like, oh my gosh, what a powerful quote.
Yes.
So the quote is by John Bevere, who is a Christian author and speaker. And it goes, God intentionally made your calling beyond your natural ability, so you would have to depend on his grace to fulfill it.
Yes.
What does that quote mean to you?
So, in a nutshell, when I got sober 10 years ago, if the Lord would have told me what was in store for my life after redemption, I would have been like, no, thank you. But he called me to a certain ministry, an addiction ministry, and it is, of course, I have my own story and my own experience, but it is so far over my head that at all times I have to be in prayer because I can't do it. And I know that this is nothing that I can do in my own ability. If you'll see that sign right in my office behind me, Spirit lead me where my trust is without borders, and what God has called me to, I have to trust him on a daily basis. And actually the day when I posted that, so the ministry started a thrift store a month and a half ago for the Women's Recovery Center that I run. And we had sold almost all the furniture. And I'm like, no, what am I going to do? This has to support the ministry. And I was like, God, is this it? What is there going to be more? And that night, I got 2 calls from 2 donations for my whole house. You can take the whole house, all the furniture. And so I'm like, okay, this is your plan. It's not my plan. I don't have to figure it out. All I have to do is be obedient. And I think there is a level of humility that goes with our callings being over our heads, because guess what? I know it's not me doing it. So I can't sit in my office and get the big head, which sometimes it's easy to do because, people are patting you on the back. Oh, good job, good job. It's not me. Only God could put these pieces of the puzzles together. So when I'm over my head, that's when I know his handiwork is going and my hands are not in the way.
Yeah. Wow. That was really well said. I track with everything that you said. Yeah. When I hear this quote, it makes me think, the purpose God has for your life is bigger than what you could accomplish on your own. That's what comes to me when I hear that. And then when I also hear the quote, it makes me think what is my calling? I've done some deep dives over the last years trying to figure out what that is. And our pastor, the church I go to, Pastor Chris, he had a whole sermon on this a few months ago. Really think about what was the calling that God gave you. Really, really do some deep work on what that is. And when I think about mine, I think I have an ability to connect with people. And I think that's a God-given talent, and to inspire. And so I need to use those for his greater good. And that's what we're doing today.
Yes, sharing our stories.
There's so much
Yes.
power in that.
There really is, and a lot of times I tell my testimony, and when I get through, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what a tornado and a train wreck." And but that's the goodness of God. That's redemption. And
Mhm.
I say those things not to give the devil any credit, but I want others to know that you can be that low and God can still rise you up. It doesn't
Abs
matter how low, God can still rise you up. It's funny because one time I went to a church, I had been sober about 2 years then, and I told my testimony, and it's a very rough one, which you'll see. And, the lady came up to me and she's like, "Why did you keep having kids?" And I just turned around, I was like, "Ma'am, I couldn't even brush my teeth like I was supposed to, much less take care of anything else." I was like, "But God had a plan in it all." And I
Mhm.
just kinda turned around, and she was an older lady, but, bless her heart, I was like, "It's okay." God knew from the very foundation of the earth who I was gonna be, how my story was gonna end, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. That was a good answer to give to that lady.
That's just the truth, like, ma'am, I couldn't hold a job, I couldn't do any of those things, so I couldn't take care of myself the way that I needed to, or anybody else.
Yeah. I also
Yes.
think the quote, implies, like, your purpose is meant to stretch you, like, it's not gonna be easy, right? Just like you described with the work that you're doing now, you're gonna have really hard moments, and that's where your faith in God and that dependence on God, that's where it grows, you know?
Yes, and, every morning we have, prayer meeting with the staff here, and I always say, "Alright, let's see what fresh hell awaits us," because I know that the enemy is after us, but I know I can have peace about it because God is faithful. This was his big idea, so it doesn't matter what comes down the pipe, I know God's gonna take care of it, and these are situations that I can't take care of in myself. I have to have the Lord to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Yes.
we are very excited to hear your story, so wherever you feel comfortable, just take us back.
Growing up, both of my parents struggled with addiction. They loved me the best that they knew how to, but they had their own struggles with domestic violence, mental health, all kind of substance abuse, things like that. And again, they did the best that they could do. They tried to teach me, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, all those things. So around 10 years old, my mom and dad got into a big argument as usual, and there was some domestic violence going on, and then my mom eventually shot my dad, and he did live, but he came back to the house after all that, and it was like 2 days later, and the sheriffs brought him, and I remember at that moment in time, like, leaning over my banister, and I was crying because I didn't know why my dad had to leave, and I remember my teardrops hitting the bald spot in the top of his head, and, I just didn't know, like, what was going on, and I thought I was fine. I thought, no big deal, right? Well, for 3 days, I was throwing up, I was sick, but I didn't know that that was a side effect of trauma. So I was like, "Well, it's really no big deal." And so my mom and dad, they finally separated after years of back and forth, and my mom started seeing another guy. He was also abusive, much more so than my dad ever was. My dad was more verbal because of drinking and things like that, and they just really couldn't get along. So my mom started dating this other guy, and he was very violent, like physically violent. And we ended up at the Faith Shelter here in Rabun County. And honestly, at the time, I thought it was the best thing in the world because we got to stay in this cool little room, and we got to go downstairs to the thrift store. And I just felt like I belonged there, like I was loved there, that I was cared about. So I really didn't necessarily think it was a bad thing. But after that, my mom, she decided it was best if we moved to Texas with some family that I had there to really get away from the guy. And we moved out there, and I was in eighth grade. And I remember at that point in time, even being that young, I was already looking for something to fill a hole in me, to change the way that I felt, looking for love in all the wrong places. People say that all the time, but that's a very real thing. So, went on through high school for a little bit, and I started dating a guy, and I was like, this is great. He loves me, and he was quite a heathen, as my mom would say, and she couldn't stand him. And so, for me as a teenage girl, I was like, well, I just love him that much more. If you hate him, he's got to be great. What do moms know? So, we started dating, and then, I found out I was pregnant. I was, 16 when I had her, but I remember thinking, "This is gonna fix all my problems. I'm gonna have this cute baby, and we're gonna have this white picket fence, and we're gonna have this house." Well, he sold drugs. I worked. I was in school, going to school full time, and after I had her, things really went downhill. and I was still in high school, still going, still working full time, paying my bills because I lived on my own. My mom did help me a lot, but I was trying to be self sufficient, do things on my own. Well, then I found out I was pregnant again with twins this time, and he had been violent multiple times, but it really got more so after I was pregnant with them. And I still thought in my mind, well, this is going to make everything right. I was wrong. I graduated high school in May, and then the twins were born in October. So at 18 years old, I had 3 kids. I was still a kid myself, had all this trauma, but I was doing the best that I could do. So Defects was looking for us because I got back on drugs. The drugs started with just smoking pot, and then after I had the kids, it was cocaine, and it had really got off to the races. It was a pretty awful time in life, and I was just wanting to make everything work, and I just couldn't get it to work. And so I called my dad. I was like, "Hey, can I?" Because he's still lived here in Raven County. I was like, "Hey, can I come? Can I come home?" He's like, "Yeah." Well, it wasn't just me coming home. I was bringing the guy at the time and then 3 kids. So we got here, and like I said, he had been physically abusive multiple times. So I had these teenagers babysit my twins, and I let them keep them all day. I was partying, doing whatever I had to do or what I wanted to do. And I made a phone call that night at 9 o'clock, and I was like, "Where's the kids?" And she was like, "You need to call the sheriff's department," and hung up the phone. So I was like, "What in the world?" So I called, and they're like, "You need to come to the sheriff's department." So we all went, and they pulled out all these pictures where my twins had bruises on them. My son, he had broken ribs. My daughter, she had a little cut right here. It was a few things, and they arrested both of us. They arrested him and they arrested me for cruelty to children. And I remember looking at him, "What did you do? What happened?" And he looked at me. He was like, "No, you tell me what happened." During that time frame, that short 2-week period, I had been introduced to methamphetamines, and I was like, "Wow, this is so much better than cocaine because it's a lot cheaper and it lasts way longer." Like, this is great. I didn't know what fresh hell I was walking into. Looking back, there were plenty of warning signs, but I didn't know them at the time. So they did take my kids, and my dad came and bonded me out. He didn't get out. So my dad bonded me out. And by this time, my addiction is full blown. And Defects wanted me to do this case plan again, 18, 19 years old. I couldn't. I was at a place in my life where drugs were my number one priority. And those are hard things to say, but those were the truth. And my main concern was getting high, numbing the pain, whatever I had to do to forget about everything that happened. And I did have quite a bit of trauma in my childhood, but I really wanted to be a parent. I really wanted to be the mom that they needed, but I just didn't have the skills to do so. So I first my oldest daughter, she was adopted by my aunt and uncle. And then my twins, they were adopted by another family here in the community. And you know how small the town is. Of course, I was on the front page of the paper about abusing kids and things like that. I'm sorry if I get emotional, but so I was waitressing at the Waffle House, and I had a guy. He was like, "Oh, you're the POS that beat her kids and stuff like that." And I was like, "No, sir." And I just put the cup of coffee down and I walked out. Like, I had that happen multiple times. And so that made my drug use so much more intense, and I was using all the time, and I had to go back on those charges. I did do a year in jail. The lawyer that I had at the time, he was like, "If you don't say yes, you're looking at this and you're looking at this." And so I was scared. I was a young teenage girl and trying to do the best I could do. So I just pleaded yes and went and did a year in the county jail. And some of that time I got work release, so it wasn't really a consequence. It was kind of like a timeout because I would go use and then go back to the jail, all kind of things. And so then I met another guy and we started dating, and he didn't do meth. He just did pills. So I was like, okay, this is going to be great. This is going to be real good. That's the insanity of it. So we dated for a while, and I started doing some pills with him, and then I got pregnant with our son at the time, and I used the whole time pills. And so when I went to have him at the hospital, they tested me, and of course I failed. So I tried to blame it on Defects, and of course it wasn't Defects, it was me. I was the problem. So my aunt and uncle, they got custody of him, and I did have visitation and all that for 6 months, but I had gotten so good at kind of going around defects I would use, and they would want to take like hair follicle tests. So I would drive to Atlanta, buy the shampoo because they didn't have anywhere in the near vicinity that sold anything like that. So I'd drive, get the stuff, wash it along the way, and by the time I got to Habersham, my hair would be ready to take, and I would pass them until the last one I got a surprise drug test, and it was 2 weeks before my case was supposed to be closed, and of course I failed for everything, and they locked me up. My case plan was terminated, and I did not have the right to go on any longer with the defects case, so my aunt and uncle did get custody. As time went on, the addiction got worse, and then I found out I was pregnant again. I went to Asheville, North Carolina. I had an abortion, and I remember pulling up at the place, and all the protesters, and I mean, it's really intense, and I was fine at first, and then I got in the car, we started driving home, I was fine, and then when I pulled in my driveway, I wasn't fine anymore, and I started freaking out, and I was like, "What's my life come to?" But it didn't change me. That it was just trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. So I kinda just kept using and pretended that nothing had happened. So then I found out I was pregnant again a few months later, and by this time I was like, "I'm just not gonna tell anybody, I'm gonna be quiet about it." So for the whole time I did go get on methadone at the methadone clinic, and he said it was fine to use methadone while I was pregnant. I never suggest that for anyone, just for the record. That's a horrible idea. Don't let anybody talk you into that. So I was going to the methadone clinic. Well, I went to South Carolina to have her because I was like, I'll get around this. I'll go to South Carolina and nobody will know anything. They won't know my past. They won't know anything. So I went there. And of course, as soon as I had her, they come in, they're like, you're red flagged in the system. You haven't been to the doctor. You haven't done any of those things. So I was like, okay, I'm busted. So I grabbed my prescription of Lortabs off the table, and I walked out of the hospital, and I never went back. I came back to Georgia just pretending like nothing had ever happened. And I had been on probation and things like that. I got locked up for a while. Then I started working for a place, and I stole a bunch of money from them. And after I got caught doing that, I got sent to Alto State Prison for 2 years. And the whole time I was there, my family, they're so great, and they would come see me. They'll put money on my books, all the things like that. So when I got home, I was like, you know what? My life is going to be different. I'm going to do something else. I'm not doing this. And I really had all intentions of that. I really had all intentions of just getting me a little job, just minding my business. But the night that I was released from prison, I seen a friend, and it was off to the races. We started doing cocaine that night, and then it wasn't a few days later, I was doing meth. So that went on for a little while. Then I met another guy. He didn't do any kind of drugs, didn't smoke pot, didn't do any of that. So I was like, this will fix me. This will fix me. I'll have my white picket fence. This will be great. And so we got together, we got married, and I was sober for a while. And we got pregnant with my 13-year-old, and everything was good. And then we started having marriage problems. So I went back to the only thing that I knew to cope with life on life's terms, and that's drugs. So started doing that. And then I found out I was pregnant again with my youngest daughter, and I used with her for a little bit, and then I had her, and they did the drug test, and my husband at the time, he was like, "What's going on?" So they told him that I had failed my drug test, so I couldn't be with the kids alone, and he found out everything. So DFAC started another case. I couldn't be around the kids unsupervised, and so my addiction was really hot and heavy at this time, the worst that it had ever gotten. And I hadn't seen my kids in 6 months, and I knew where they were. I knew they were at the babysitter, so I went and kicked the door in, tried to kidnap my own kids, and I got one of them. My other daughter wasn't there, but I did take one. And the investigator called me. He was like, "Ashley, if you don't take her back, you're looking at a kidnapping charge." I was like, "They're my kids. You can't tell me that. They're my kids." He's like, "But you have a DFAX order, and you're not safe to be around your kids." So I was like, "I'm keeping my kids." He's like, "Well, kidnapping's 20 years." I was like, I don't want to do 20 years. So my dad called me, and he was like, "You got to take the baby back." I was like, "This is my baby." He was like, "You got to take the baby back." So I did take the baby back, my baby. I took her back, and my husband at the time, he did press charges on me. Those charges saved my life. So that was the last time I was ever incarcerated at Raven County Detention Center. And I was in there and my dad was like, "You've got to get some help." And I'm like, "Is it really that bad?" But it really was that bad. Like I had really made a mess of things and I felt like I'd ruined all my kids' life. Luckily, by the grace of God, all of them went to families that love the Lord and that were good to them and they had a great life. But still, I didn't do what I was supposed to do as a mother. So the last time I got incarcerated, my dad was like, "You got to get some help." So I was like, "Well, if I can get out of jail early, I'll do that." Well, they said, "You're not getting out of jail early." So I was like, "I'm not going to rehab." That night, I went to my cell in Habersham jail, and I had a using dream that night that scared me so bad it set me straight up in my sleep. And I was like, "All right, I'm going." So I called my dad that morning. I was like, "All right, I'll go to treatment." So I did my time. Well, when it was time for me to get out, I did not call my dad to come get me. I called the dope man and I went with him. And somehow my sister found me with like just in a few hours. And she told me, she said, "Ashley, if you don't go home, this is your last chance." And they had said that 100 times. But when she said it that time, it hit me right in the heart. And I was like, "I'm going home." So I went home and the day I went to treatment, we had to get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, which I was already awake because I was high. But I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because it was such a far drive. And I remember walking into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I absolutely hated the person that I saw in the mirror. And I hated it. And I started to cry. My dad walked around the corner and I was trying to put some makeup on and I was like, "What can God do with me?" And he was like, "If you'll just trust him, if you'll just trust him, he'll change your life." So my dad had gotten saved like 5 years before that. While I was going to prison, he got saved and turned his whole life around. So I was like, okay. So we went there and it was 5 hours away, 4 or 5 hours away. And we pull up between two cow pastures in the middle of nowhere. And all I have for 29 years of living is a bag about this big, a little reusable grocery bag of everything that I had to my name. And I'm like, looking at it, I'm like, wow, that's all I had to show for 29 years of living. All I've got is broken pieces, broken promises, broken dreams, broken everything. I have nothing. My dad told me bye. It was probably the hardest goodbye ever. And I went and sat down on that twin bed at Promise of Hope in Dudley, Georgia. And I said, "God, if you'll take this addiction away from me, I'll spend the rest of my life helping other people." I don't know if I meant it at the time, but God did. And He has been so faithful to that promise. So I stayed in the program 12 months. While I was there, my husband at the time, he divorced me after I'd been there 11 months. The whole time I prayed for my marriage, I was like, "Lord, I know I'm doing the right thing. You're going to work this out." God did not work it out. So we had our divorce. He got custody of the kids because I was still in treatment. And all I knew to do was keep doing the next right thing. Did I feel like doing the next right thing? No. I felt miserable. I was like, "Oh my gosh, God, I've put all my hope and trust into you, and it's not going the way I think it should go." So I came home. I've been gone a little over 12 months, and I got to have my two youngest daughters the first weekend. And so my youngest one, she gets out and she's calling somebody else mama. And I was like, "It's okay, God. I know you're going to take care of this." So I was getting my kids every other weekend for a little while, and I just kept praying, like, "Lord, and me and my ex-husband at the time, we would have arguments and stuff, and my dad would be like, "You need to write all this down." And I'm like, "I have put it in the hands of Jesus. I can't. I'm just going to let him have it." So some time went on, and we really worked through our differences. And then one day it was just like I had full custody of my two youngest daughters again. And God just worked it out that way. And then I met a guy and we got married in September of 2017. He was in recovery. I was in recovery. Our clean dates were 4 days apart, and we didn't really run with each other in the past in our addictions, which is really crazy for Rabin County because we are so small. And so it was definitely a God thing. And we met and we dated for a while, and then we got married, and we would go to church, we would go to AA, we would just do all the stuff. But while I was in rehab, I was working in the craft room one day, and like there were some little pieces and stuff, and there was like this little cardboard lighthouse, and the Lord just spoke, "Give this to your dad," with this scripture. There was a scripture beside it, and it said, "With God all things are possible." So I was like, Okay, okay. Sounded so crazy, but I was like, okay, he's not gonna want this, but okay. So we go. He was gonna go eat at a Longhorns, but we couldn't go anywhere that served alcohol because of the program. So we went to Taco Bell, and he's telling me he's like, so since you've been in this program, I've started a ministry. He said I'm gonna call it the Lighthouse, and I was like, wait, what did you just say? He said I'm gonna call it the Lighthouse. I was like, wait right here. So I went to the car, got it out of my backpack and, I brought it in. I was like, "Lord, lay this on my heart to give to you." So I did. So my dad started the Lighthouse while I was in treatment. So when I got home, it was already going. It was just a Saturday night service, and I was working for my dad's electrical company, but I was just so passionate about helping others, and people would come to the service, so I would get to, like, leave the electrical company and go check on this person or help this person do this or take this person to a meeting. And so time went on and we seen that there was just more of a need. Like people would want to get clean but not have the housing to do so. So the Lord laid it on my dad's heart to open up a men's facility. And let's see, March of 2019, we opened the men's home right here in Lakemont. And myself and Dan Crane built that program from the ground up, and it has truly been such an experience. And like I said, I'm a full-time parent to my two youngest daughters now. In the last 10 years, I've been sober 10 years now. That was in December 3rd, 2015. Like God has done so many great things in the last 10 years. So I got my bachelor's degree. I got an associate's degree in criminal justice. And I was like, I can teach this class. So I told my professor, I was like, well, I do got a little inside on it, you know. So, got my associates in criminal justice, got my bachelor's in psychology, specializing in addictions and recovery. Then I got certified through the state, ACA, Georgia Certified Addiction Counselor. And then 2 years ago, I was prophesied over at church, and this man, he was like, "You're gonna open up a women's ministry, and you're gonna help men or women and children find their way back to the Lord." And I was like, I don't know about that, because the men's was smooth sailing. I wasn't having to work 14-hour days anymore, and I was like, I don't know. But then I got a call like 3 weeks later from the Rotary Club here in Rabun County. They're like, "We wanna help you start a women's center." I was like, okay, Lord. So some time went on and they raised some money. So I'm here at the Women's Center now. We just opened our thrift store and we plan to open the women's residential home at the end of February. And I am so excited about it. I know it's really hard work, but I'm excited to help women like I was who felt hopeless and lost. And sometimes as women, we just really lose our identity in the world, and God never intended it to be that way. He made women strong for a purpose. And so I'm so excited to meet women just like I was, that's lost their kids, that's been in and out of jail and prison and lied, stole, cheated, all those things. And I really just want to show them how really loved they really are and that God has something so much better for them. So I'm so excited about it.
Wow, girl. Oh my gosh. I felt
Yes.
like that was like a movie with a
Yeah.
great ending, you know,
Yes.
like cheering in the stand for you, you know?
Yes. But, like, I really had to crawl out of that, like, don't take my journey lightly, and I'm really not quiet about it, I'm actually very loud about it, and some people are like, "You can quit bragging." I'm bragging on Jesus, because only Jesus can do that, and I'm not gonna be quiet about it because I'm just really so grateful for what he did in my life.
Yeah. There's that quote, "Recover out loud so people don't have to die in silence," and
Silence?
yeah, I'm
Yes.
a lot like you in terms of being very open about it, and, whatever. That's the whole floating rock theory. We're all in a floating rock, like, we don't have time to be embarrassed or care about what
Yes.
other people think, like
There's lives on the line.
yeah, exactly. The lighthouse part of your story, I had chills all down my body. Like, what a sign, a spiritual sign from God of just confirmation that you're on the right path, you know?
Yes. And I'm, like, so excited about it. So, like, the recovery movement started, like, 9 years ago here, and it has really just blossomed. I'm just so excited to do the eternal work with people that is gonna last. I don't want short change. I don't want any surface work, any of that. I really want to dig in and help these ladies find the freedom because they're mothers, they're daughters, and if we help that woman, then we're helping generations.
Yeah.
We're not just helping one woman, we're helping generations.
Mhm. Yeah,
I'm really
absolutely.
excited about it.
No, I mean, it's such important work. I have some follow-up questions for you.
Okay.
So I know you had mentioned AA, which I think is a phenomenal program. I wanted to like that first year is really hard for people. It's like you're a newborn baby learning to
Yes.
thrive in a world that used to numb from. So how like what program did you do that first year? Are you still in a program? Kind of describe that experience.
So I went to a 12-month program for 12 months. During that program and for a year after, I was always in AA. Always. It was definitely the foundation of my spirituality. That's how I met the Lord, and like I feel like that's how I had a real revelation of him. And I skipped the best part of my story. So I'm gonna go back just 1 second. So after I'd been at the program for 7 months and I was following all the rules just because I didn't want to lose my visits, not so much that I had a heart change. But after I'd been there for 7 months, one morning I woke up and the sun was shining in on me. And the Lord spoke to me that morning that my life would never be the same, that my struggle with addiction was over. And He radically transformed my life. And I will always be forever grateful to him. But
Mhm.
so now today, like being sober 10 years, like I work in the field so much, I still go to a counselor once a month because I'm always hearing everybody else's trauma. But also, I still go to AA and stuff like once a month and things like that. But I have a very strong network and I do a lot of self care. Not like I like to run. So in my sobriety, I had gained like 100 pounds and I became type 2 diabetic. I was like 230 pounds and I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. I'm really scared. I don't want to lose my hands. I don't want to lose my feet. So I started running with my best friend in Mountain City. And we ran for years and I was able to lose like 90 pounds. So, yeah, I'm avid into, working out, being healthy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think there's a big misconception that when you stop drinking, you're going to be skinny and, whatever fitness model. But that is very far from the truth because usually when you stop drinking, you crave the sugar and so then you eat
You
the
want to eat?
sugar.
Yeah.
And it's like everyone's out drinking if you're at a gathering, you're like, "Well, I'm just gonna eat then," because I can't
Yes.
drink. I gained like 60 pounds in recovery as well. And yeah, then I mean, I have to give myself some grace and we have to give ourselves grace for that. Like, cause I was just trying to stay sober. You know what I mean? Like, I'll get the weight off. Yeah. Just stay sober that first year. You don't have to do it all that first year.
Yes.
It can come with time.
One thing
Chase,
at a time.
yeah, chase one rabbit at a time, not two.
Yes.
I had some other questions. You just got your 10-year chip, which I
Yes.
can't even imagine what that feels like. I will celebrate 7 years this year, but 10 years, like, that's a big milestone. So
It was
that's amazing.
huge. It was huge. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what is a misconception about long-term sobriety?
A misconception would be that sometimes people think what worked for them in the beginning doesn't work at 10 years, but what kept me clean in that first year still keeps me clean at 10 years today. And I know that I'm not going to go to a meth house. I'm not going to go to the bar. Those are just things for me. I still to this day don't put myself in those situations.
Mhm.
And sometimes people think, well, I'm good, or I can handle one. No, we can't. We're
Mhm.
allergic. We break out in handcuffs. We can't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's not for us. We can't do that. So I
Yeah.
think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that you feel like you don't have to do the work that you did 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, long-term sobriety, it's a little tricky. Just an example, like I was in Cabo last week and it was amazing. I had an amazing time, but a lot of Cabo is like these themed parties, right? Like the white
Yeah.
party, the jungle party. And we were at this pink party and it was just a drinker's heaven, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
They were like pouring shots down people's mouth and water guns of alcohol. And after about 10 minutes of watching this, I looked at my husband, I was like, we need to leave now. And not that I was triggered to drink, but it was just like immersing yourself back in hell? And I was like, "Why am I doing this?"
They
Yeah.
make it look so great and fun.
Yeah, and it was just all the feelings came back, not the feelings to drink, but like the sad feelings that I had as a
Yes.
drinker. Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you a few more questions before the
Okay.
lightning round. What tools do you think kept you most grounded over the last 10 years? Like, do you have a morning routine? Kinda give us that take.
Routine and structure are always so great for me. And plus I do think like working in the field, like I have so much accountability and so many eyeballs on me all the time. I think that's really great. And God knows what he's doing. So yeah, definitely that.
Yeah. What would you say has been your biggest blessing the past 10 years?
Getting to be a wife and a mom.
Yeah, that's
Wonderful,
really cool.
and getting to know Jesus.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, every day is an adventure. I never know what's gonna happen, but, just to know his character and how he really feels about me helps me be the best in all areas for the most part that I can be. But you know how, addiction works, sometimes you still have those thoughts come up, that inadequacy and all that, and I just refer back to his word. Well, that's not what his word says about me. So really getting to know Jesus and being a wife and a mom.
yeah, yeah. Your, faith is beautiful. It's
Thank
palpable.
you.
I know we're not physically together, but I can there's like a light that comes from you that's beautiful, very beautiful.
Thank you.
I have one more question. Where do you see yourself going? I mean, the possibilities are endless for you. I mean, you're doing such cool things in a county that I love, in a county that needs this type of work. Where do you see yourself the next few years?
So I have all these great ideas. My dad, he's like, all right, enough with the ideas. But like, I really want to get this women's ministry up and going. I want to be a grandma, which I didn't share that part, but I was reconciled with one of my older children that I talk to him every day. So I'm so grateful for that. And I'm believing God to do the rest. But I really see, I want to help people. I want to continue doing that because after all I've been through, I think it's really important for people to know that they haven't gone too far. So if as long as I keep doing that, but like I want to do like I've been talking to my husband about doing a podcast. I want to call it the recovery table.
Love it.
So we've been working on that. I would really like to have a coffee shop here at this women's center because I love
That's fun.
coffee.
Mhm.
I think that's, one of my self-care things. I'm a coffee snob, so I love that, and I really just wanna, help people find freedom. As long
Mhm.
as I continue doing that, I'll be happy.
Yeah. I love that so much, and I believe that you will achieve all of those
Yeah.
things. Yeah, you're a great, you have a great speaking voice. You'd be great on a podcast, like your own podcast. It would be amazing.
Really?
You
I
do,
tell
yeah.
my husband, I was like, "I hate my voice, though."
No, it's
He's
very
like, "You
clear.
can't do a podcast like that."
No, you're very well spoken. I think too what's cool about you is you're just uniquely you. Like you're not trying to be anybody else but yourself. And I think
Yeah,
that's what people connect with. People don't connect with the fake masks that we wear. They connect with real people, you
authentic.
know? Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Well, I can't thank you enough for sharing your story. I mean, it is a wild ride and a beautiful, transformative ending. And it's super inspirational to see the work that you're doing now.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So this is a lightning round.
Okay,
Season 2 has different questions in season 1, so you're getting some brand new questions.
okay,
It's just people get invested in you after they hear your story, so it's just kind of a fun way for people to get to know you a little better. So the first question is, do you have any hidden talents?
hidden talents. Yeah, I tell people I can juggle, but I can't really juggle, but I can multitask really good.
Okay.
And
I
I
like
call
that.
that juggling, so
Yeah. That's awesome. I am too. I'm a really good multitasker. That might
good.
be my other calling in life.
Yes,
Number 2, what is one song that puts you in a good mood?
I really like oh, that's hard because they all do. My favorite right now is "Left 'Em in the River" by Jamie McDonald, and, she says oh gosh, like, I love this song, but she's talking about when she met Jesus, like, he took all her chains and she hasn't seen them yet. She hasn't seen them since then, and I just love that song right now.
Okay, I'm gonna have to download that.
It's so good. Left It in the River, I believe it is, by
I like
Jamie
that.
McDonald.
Okay, number 3, what is the last concert you've been to?
Chris Stapleton. Yes, it was great.
Did you see he just dropped he's coming to Atlanta?
I didn't see that.
They
That's where
just
I
dropped
saw
it.
him.
Yeah, they just dropped his release today. He'll be here August 21st.
He's the best.
I love him.
Yes, me too.
Number 4, what would be your last meal?
A ribeye. Ribeye. I do love a ribeye. Medium. I try to stay down on the meat just 'cause I see all the stuff that they put in it, and while I like my skin better when I don't eat meat, I don't know, just it really what you put in your body comes out, so but I do like a ribeye.
Yeah, that's a staple.
Yeah, it's a
Alright,
staple.
last question, kind of a heavy one. What kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind?
I hope I leave a legacy of redemption, that no matter how far you've gone, Jesus still has a plan for you, even if the world doesn't.
Yeah, that made me a little teary. That was beautiful.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it so much. It's such an honor to have you on the show. I can't thank you enough.
No, thank you so much.
All right, girl. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.